You came in and you faced a certain set of challenges. What are you leaving behind? And now that the Ebola outbreak is very close to having, been put in the past, what happens to the center coordinating that?
As you were talking about a silver lining, everything we did with Ebola, we did with one eye on the virus, but then also another eye on the long-term strategic interests of the country. This business of increasing the capability of my Sierra Leonean staff eventually evolved into what we called the Situation Room Academy. And through that, we trained over 600 Sierra Leoneans across the country in information management and analysis. But the most significant thing about Ebola is about changing the way we did business. And that is the key thing. We made sure that every decision, every problem we identified was described by data and analysis, not anecdotal evidence. And every solution that we designed was based on data and analysis. And to go further and audit the efficacy of those solutions. But not to stop there, to also stop and say, well, if it worked, let's scan the Ebola response and see what other problem we can apply the same strategy to. And if it doesn't work, it was again my job to come back to my bosses and say, this did not work because of X, Y, and Z. Either we were looking at the wrong indicators, or we were not analyzing the data properly, or whatever reason it is, and then come up with alternative recommendations for how next to approach the problem. Making sure that we are transparent and accountable. When we make mistakes, we say we've made mistakes, because Ebola required the public to trust us. Lying about how many cases you have, or denying that people are not taking more than average to get a response from the alert line when they call, is only going to reduce your credibility. So making sure that you share your problems with the public, you explain to them why you have the problems, you explain to them what you're doing about fixing those problems, you then get their buy-in. That way of doing business is what we would like as a legacy of the Ebola response to become embedded in the DNA of government business in our country, revolutionizing our approach to public administration and service delivery, giving people ownership and making ourselves accountable.
A lot of what you're talking about is culture change. I mean, from relying on anecdotes to grounding things in data to maybe exaggerating success to living up honestly to failure or shortcomings. It's notoriously difficult to achieve that kind of culture change. Are you seeing it happen?
The evidence for me that it's happening is that the president has become extremely impatient. So now he demands from his ministers and agency heads the same level of rigor, demanding the same sort of stuff that the Situation Room used to feed to him.
From my side, a few of the examples of how I've seen things change in the way the government is doing business. First of all, the president has established a delivery team to focus on recovery. And that team's role is to replicate some of these strategies from Ebola to ensure that we're monitoring and holding ministers and implementing partners accountable to the results that the public expects to be delivered. So that's a move straight from the president, supported by international partners, and that's moving forward. Another is the way that the districts, the decentralized networks in Sierra Leone are approaching recovery. I think they were quite empowered in their integral role in the Ebola response and are demanding to play a similar role in delivering services for recovery. So particularly in areas of education, for example. The districts across Sierra Leone are now establishing their own situation rooms, mimicking the situation room in the Ebola Response Center to start tracking how education is working, attendance levels, teacher attendance, etc., as a way to improve the quality of education. So I think we are seeing some changes, not only what citizens are demanding from the government, but lessons that the government has learned on how to deliver and to deliver quickly, and how to coordinate with international partners that are translating into a new way of doing business in Sierra Leone.